Hi, Stan.
Hi.
Well, I guess I'll dive right in. In goals against per game, the Oilers are 26th in the NHL. So I guess the question is, what do you think the problem is? And then the follow-up leading to Friday, do you have to do something to address it, or do you think it's internally repairable?
Yeah, we haven't played well defensively as a team. I think it's a number of factors, all of them contributing. It's goaltending, defense, and forwards. I think the biggest challenge for our group is, we don't put ourselves in a great spot often in games, and we score a ton of goals, and I think that's great. And if you think back to the early part of our season, we weren't scoring a lot. I think so. We've swung the pendulum probably too far one way, where we're pushing to try to make things happen, and in the process of doing that, we put ourselves in really bad spots. And I think until we learn as a team to be smarter about the way we approach the games, we're going to see a lot of highs and lows, to where we look great some nights, we're scoring a lot of goals, and other nights we're giving up a ton of chances and putting our defense and our goalie in bad spots. And I think that's got to change. So that's more of a mentality shift for our group, to understand what a winning brand of hockey is. And I think we see it in spurts this year, but I don't think we see it nearly consistent enough. And especially as the season progresses and the league changes around, this time of year, heading into the stretch run, and there has to be a bigger commitment from our players, all of our players, to play a smarter hockey and not trying to make plays every shift. I think that's something that we've been guilty of, especially lately. But even going back to the games in late January, I think maybe it's having more respect for the game and the simplicity of the game sometimes. I think we want to put on a show, and we want to score goals, and I think we all love scoring goals. But there's two sides to it, and I think we haven't managed that very well as a team. So yes, there's lots of details underneath that, as far as players that need to play better. No question, both forwards, defense, and goalies. I don't think we've seen, but I think the bigger way to fix that, it's not going to be magical new players. It's going to be the approach that we take as a team, understanding that going through a whole period without getting a lot of scoring chances is okay if you don't give up a lot. And I think that's what happens in playoff hockey. And I think our team has shown the maturity to play that way when the games matter the most. I think right now we haven't been dialed in enough and committed enough to play that way, and that's what's causing us a problem most recently.
I'm also wondering, could you explain your perspective of Paul Coffey coming back, your hopes, and maybe where that originated, the idea originated for him to come back?
Yeah, at the break, I had conversations with Chris. It's kind of a unique situation to have a break in February. You never have a couple weeks off like that. Normally, you have a day or two between games. We weren't playing well heading into the break, and I think it was obvious that we had to do something to change our group. And in talking to Chris, that idea came up. Chris brought it up to me and said, "Do you have any thoughts?" And then we talked it through, and I think, I look back at Paul's contributions last year, and his perspective. I think he was involved with our team this whole year, but not in a detailed way, like with the coaching staff day to day. And then talking to Paul, I felt that he could add something to our group. And I think when you add it all up, he's familiar with our guys because he was here the last 2 years. But he also then had some distance this the last few months from our group. So that combination, I think, is good. Like, when you're not behind the bench, you sometimes have a different view on things. And I thought I was kind of in agreement that it was something to help our group. And just talking to Paul this morning about what I just was talking about, and I think he sees that as the coach too. And I think, that we have to have a different mentality to be more successful. So that's kind of how it all came to be.
How confident are you that you'll be able to find some cap space to meaningfully improve this team before the end of the week?
I think we'll be able to do some things. And I like I said, it'd be nice to bring a player or two in, I think. But also the biggest way we're going to be a better team is we got a lot of good players here, and they're talent. It's a talented group. I think there's more from within. That's probably the way that we're going to become a better team. Certainly adding a player or two is something we're looking for, and I think it can be helpful. But it's not like it's going to completely change the fortunes of our team. We've got a lot of really good players here, and it's that commitment from our group to playing smarter hockey, winning hockey, I think is going to probably pay the biggest dividends. But yes, always looking to add a player or two. I think we've been able to do that the last few years, and they've made contributions, positive ones, and I'm hopeful that we can do that this year too.
There's a lot of talk out there, and I'm not sure if you'll comment on this, but that you guys might be looking to add on the blue line. I just wonder about that trade you made when you had to move Brett Kulak out to create that space. Obviously, Stastny comes in, but did the net result end up being a bit more of a step back on the blue line than maybe you were expecting, given that you're now potentially adding on that front?
No, because I think if, looking at where we are now, I think Spencer's played well for us. I don't think Spencer versus Kulak is really the issue. It's more maybe a different type of player coming in there. If we're going to add somebody, we might add a defenseman, we might add a forward. I don't know at this point. I think we've had conversations on both of those, but I don't see that being the issue. I think it's if you're adding a defenseman, you can never have too many D going into a playoff run. So it's I wouldn't really agree with that portrayal of it. I think it's really something that our group has struggled to have the right mentality. So adding a new player to our mix would be good, but I guess I don't equate it the same way.
Are you in the goaltending market at all?
I think our goaltending hasn't played great, but at the same time, I think a bigger problem is we put our goalies in a really tough spot. I think they can be better. I don't think I'm not trying to communicate that they've had their A game or played at an elite level, but I think if you're stuck on the numbers, I think you kind of have to watch the games, which I know you guys do as well. We put our goalies in some really tough spots, and I don't think that's a winning formula no matter who you have in net. So, yeah, I'd like to see our goalies find some more consistency to their game. I think the better way to do that is not only for them to find their game, but for us to put them in situations where they're more likely to find it. I don't think we've done a very good job of that this year, especially the last month or so. There was a stretch there, I think, from mid-December to mid-January when we were playing. You go back and watch some of those games, we weren't putting ourselves in so many bad spots. And I think in those times our goaltending looked solid. So I think we've got to put them, like, they need to find their game too. So I'm not absolving them. I think they can certainly play better. But I think the way that we play as a team is going to play a bigger role than that, than just a new person in the uniform.
So you talk about a team trying to discover how to play winning hockey, and all the things you just talked about. No one disagrees with that. But this is a team that's been to 2 cups in a row. It's been like the second best team in the NHL over the last 5 years. Why do you think a team that clearly knows how to do everything you just described, we're 60 games in and they haven't figured it out again this year? How come?
I don't know if it's they don't know how to do it. I don't think it's a lack of knowledge. I think there's a lot of things that happen during a season, and like I said, early in the year, we weren't scoring a lot. Like, we didn't really have our offensive game. So I think, it's hard to look at things from a high perspective. Like, we're kind of in the middle of it now, coming off the last couple games, we gave up a lot of goals. But if you rewind this to October, November, when we were trying to find our way, like, our offensive players didn't score a lot in October. So I think we were trying to find it, and I think we did find it, but in the process, we kind of went too far. So I think you're right. We know how. It's not a lack of knowledge on how to play winning hockey. I think you can't get to the Stanley Cup final 2 years in a row if you don't play a winning brand. We definitely can do it, and we haven't done it frequently enough. So I think that's part of sports, though. I mean, there's variability in performance. There's highs and lows to a team, and you take the best team in the league this year. They had stretches where they looked terrible, and like that's kind of how sports go. But so I guess that's not a great answer as to why we can't. But I think it's just that commitment. I mean, in a lot of ways, it's not super exciting sometimes to play a whole period and not really get many scoring chances and just play simple, boring hockey. But a lot of times that's winning hockey, right? It's just committing to it and convincing yourself that's good enough in the moment. And I think we've got some incredibly talented players, and they have, like, I should say, they have the best intentions. They want to help the team win. And they're not out there trying to do bad things. They're trying to score. But sometimes the risk-reward trade-off, it's in the wrong order, and you end up where we've been lately. So there's a lot of elements to our game that are trending well. Like, we are scoring a lot of goals, and I've been talking to a lot of GMs lately, and they kind of laugh, like, we wish that we had that problem. We can't score to save our life. So we're kind of in the other end, where we're scoring a lot, but we're giving up too much. So it's sort of finding that balance, and that's what good teams do, and I'm confident we'll get there.
Stan, Mangiapane and Regula both claim waivers. Can we read into it that you couldn't trade Mangiapane, which is why you put him on waivers?
No, that move in particular was done for salary cap reasons. Janmark is going to be out, and this is more of a transactional type thing. The way the bonuses work, we need to have a good bonus capture so that some of our young players like Szymanski and Howard, when you're in long-term injury and they're not in your capture, then their bonuses count, so they become much more difficult to recall. So the moves today and the moves that we'll make tomorrow are to put, Janmark on long-term injury and put ourselves in a salary cap position. So it's got nothing to do with that. It's more of just a transactional.
Okay, and you mentioned that some players have to play better. Would one of those be Darnell Nurse, and how do you assess how he's playing?
I'm not going to single Darnell out. I think he's part of a group of probably 7 or 8 guys that all are very good players, and they've played well at stretches this year. But it's just committing. So I don't think he's any different than anyone else. I would say he's in a long list of guys that are very important players to our team, and we believe in them, but we need all of them to dial in the commitment to playing maybe a simpler game. And I think it's top to bottom. It's not just Darnell.
Stan, is it safe to say that for a defenseman in an ideal world, you get a right shot D-man?
Well, we have more lefts than rights, so yeah, I think in a simplistic way, yes. But also, you don't want to overdo that too much because sometimes if a better player is a left shot that can play the right side, then, but yes, if ideally you'd like to have 3 lefts, 3 rights in your pairs, doesn't always work out that way. I'd say probably over half the teams don't have that, but yeah, that's fair.
And looking at the Szymanski's recall, outside of the cap stuff, do you want to see him get an opportunity for a few games at center?
Yeah, I like the way Josh played. I mean, he came up there right before the Olympics, and he was pretty effective for us. Not in a big role, but I think he's kind of been that player all year. That seems to be his identity as a player. I think he understands what makes him successful. He's more of a lower risk guy. I like his energy. He's a bigger guy, pretty smart about not putting himself in bad positions. Like, I think he doesn't take a lot of risks, and maybe that's why he's not a bigger scorer. But I think, he's been an effective player in Bakersfield on an offensive line. Like, I think when they put Howard, Szymanski, and Hudson together, that line was really successful for a large stretch of the year, and I think Szymanski was a big part of that. So I think he can play with good players and play offensively, but I think he understands, the style of player that he needs to be successful, and we would like to see if he can do it in the stretch run here.
Stan, clearly the United States valued defensemen that could transition the puck in the Olympics. You have a guy right now that's leading the league in scoring for defense. He's got the most points in the league for defense since December the 1st. Is leading your team in penalty minutes time on ice. Has Bouchard, has he taken his game to another level here over the last couple months where he's become one of the top defensemen in the league in your opinion?
I'm continuing to be not surprised, I guess impressed with Evan's progression to be an elite all-around defenseman. I think most people who don't watch him that closely, if you were to ask them, what do you think of Evan Bouchard? Oh, he's a good power play offensive defenseman. And he definitely is that. But he's shown the ability this year to be great at a lot of things, not just offensive things. So, yeah, he's found a role in the penalty kill this year. I mean, you can't play 25 minutes without being a guy that can play against everybody. So, you don't have to shelter his minutes and pull him off the ice when the other team puts their best players out. Like, he can do it all. So, yeah, very impressed with his performance this year. I think the offensive contributions are obvious. Patience with the puck is appreciated by the forwards that are on the ice with him. He's got a lot of talent to see plays, find plays that maybe aren't there right away, but they materialize into plays. He's done it all. He's been tremendous this year, and he probably doesn't get enough recognition for his all-around game because he started out mostly as an offensive defenseman. But I think in the process of becoming an all-around player, he hasn't lost the offense. He's just gained the other parts of his game.
And a housekeeping item or two here. You have a couple pending UFA wingers, Roslovic, as well as Kasperi Kapanen. Has there been any thought process or discussion on the potential of extensions there?
Yeah, nothing really to report there. You're right. They both, Cappy hasn't been healthy. He's had a couple injuries this year. He's played really well, though. He off to a great start. Then he got hurt. He was about to come back, got hurt again, and then came back. I think when he's been in the lineup consistently, he's been very effective for us. And Jack scored a lot of goals, I think, without really much power play time. I know he got some early on when Hyman was injured, but for the most part, he's been a 5-on-5 only player, and he's done some good things for us. So I think they both are interesting players and guys that could have a future with us. But I think right now our focus is more so on the here and now and leading into the deadline.
Can you get back to Janmark? Has he had surgery? Is it his shoulder? What is it?
No, he hasn't had surgery yet, but he's likely going to need that. So I think when we get that all sorted out, we'll make an announcement. But he's not going to be back playing for a while.
And one more. Are you under a fair bit of pressure? Is not the word probably, but you have McDavid and Draisaitl. And while you say you want to improve things internally, is there some sort of pressure here to add a player?
We're always looking to add, so I don't know if there's any added pressure. But I would say that we want to win. Like that hasn't changed. And whether if we can bring in new players to help us, that's great. I think my point earlier was just there's a lot of ways to improve as a team. Part of it is new players, and part of it is our existing players to dial it in a little bit better. But certainly, we're not looking to, the team in a couple of years. We're looking to try to win right now, and that's the way it was when the season began. It hasn't changed at all, and we're going to keep pushing.